Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Tuesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. No LeBron, no Luka, no Reaves. No problem for the Lakers. They win in Portland. We'll break it down next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter where you get your podcasts. This one's always going to be free for you, never behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube, as we're over 37,000 subscribers, Andy, are all really impressed with what they saw in Portland on Monday night. The Lakers, to say shorthanded would be an understatement. They go into this game, obviously LeBron's still sidelined, but more importantly, really at least for current developments, Luka Dončić and Austin Reaves both getting the night off on the second night of a back-to-back. Those guys have been carrying quite a load, so you certainly understand it. Gabe Vincent still sidelined, so some star power and rotation depth missing from this game. You might have thought, Andy, it was going to be a blowout, and you were almost correct, except probably not in the way that you were thinking. The Lakers pull away in the second half. They win 123-115. Lots to like in this game, and we'll break it down in a second after we tell you that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. The Lakers keep on rolling, and three big performances in this game statistically, but lots of good performances. If you touch the floor, you contributed.
Yeah. Before we get into those specifics, just adding a little more context regarding Luka and Austin from Dave McMenamin's report at ESPN. Quote, the Lakers are managing Dončić on the second end of a back-to-back after he played 77 total minutes, nice number, in the last two games following an early return from his leg contusion and a sprained finger on the left hand, sources told ESPN's Shan Sharania. Dončić is listed on the injury report with lower leg contusion management, the same issue that caused him to miss 3 games last week, and then added Reaves, who had not missed a game yet this season, is on the injury report with right groin soreness. He played 38 minutes in Sunday's win. Dan Wojcicki from The Athletic tweeted out, sources tell me Reeves' groin injury is something he played through last night. Hope it's nothing too serious. It's important to remember, too, I think we already noted that the Lakers were shorthanded, and we're going to get into all of the guys that stepped up to offset for the fact that they were shorthanded. But here's one of the most impressive elements of this win to me, maybe even the most, like if you're just looking at it, one thing to take away. The Lakers were an extremely shorthanded team playing on the second end of a back-to-back. The Blazers, they've got a couple guys missing, but they were at much fuller strength. They haven't played since Friday. So there is no reason that the Lakers should logically forget being able to beat this team. Portland is always a hard place to play on the road, and this Blazers team has been better than a lot of people expected, but a lot lined up logically for the Lakers to lose this game in ways that, to be totally honest, nobody would really justifiably rightly be upset about, except for the fact that these guys clearly will not accept the notion of scheduled loss or just you see that with this group. They just do not accept that.
And I think, to your point, Andy, and we'll get into some of these performances in a second, whether you're talking Deandre Ayton, Rui Hachimura, and Nick Smith Jr. And
two-way player Nick Smith Jr., if you're not familiar with who we're talking about.
And why, and like particularly with a guy like Smith, why these game lined up. JJ talked about it a little after the game, but somebody like Nick Smith, it was just a perfect opportunity. I thought JJ Redick did a great job kind of apportioning the minutes, and the combinations on the floor were really good. But, to your point about not accepting a scheduled loss, the one quarter the Lakers lost in this game was the first quarter. They were down by 9 at the end of the first quarter. And like, you could reasonably look at this and say, all right, we don't have any players. It's like, it's not even, we don't have any players, and we're, they're playing a good team. You mentioned Portland playing better than people expected. They came into this game 4-2. Drew Holiday's been fantastic. Denny Avia could make an all-star team this year. Tamari Kamara is a really good defensive player. Jeremy Grant can still do some things. So like, you're looking at this team that puts an enormous amount of ball pressure on. They profile, at least athletically, as one of the best defensive, potentially one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, and you got to make up a 9-point deficit with your 3 best scorers in street clothes
and 3 best ball handlers, 3 best facilitators, 3
best players.
Yeah, 3, and not just the 3 best players. It goes without saying those are their 3 best players, but the 3 best players that, quite frankly, keeping bleep on the rails. And you could see keeping bleep on the rails was a real struggle, particularly in, I would say, the first 2.5 quarters of this game. The Lakers had a understandably difficult time trying to do that.
It took time to kind of work through, like, how are we going to do this? They got some stability later in the game, and then is the way that the game shook out. Somebody like Nick Smith, for example, was able to, they didn't run a lot of stuff. They just, and Redick talked about this after the game, they isolated. Let's just, man up against another player, clear out and go. And look, I mean, the percentages in this game were insane. What the 3 guys who led the charge offensively for the Lakers: DeAndre Ayton, 14 of 19 from the floor; Rui Hachimura, 10 of 15; and Nick Smith, 10 of 15. The Lakers as a team shot 59% in this game. Did they play a little bit over their heads? Yeah, I think that's fair to say. But here's the thing about
I don't know about that. Keep going, but I'm not sure about that.
Anytime in the NBA, when you shoot 14 of 19, 10 of 15, 10 of 15, like, you're having the type of night where, like, more stuff's falling than it normally does. But here's the thing about that. You got to play to make that happen. Like, you have to, keep in on a game. You have to keep grinding. You have to believe that you have a chance, not only just a chance to win, that you can win, maybe even should win the game, to continue to work to do that. You have to, if you're Nick Smith Jr., you have to have the confidence to be like, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to take shots that, maybe if you're in the crowd, you're looking like, dang, that's a lot of heat check from Nick Smith, and just keep effing going. And he did. And like, I just have an enormous amount of respect for the way the guys played this game on Monday night.
Yeah. The reason I was saying, like, that I didn't think they necessarily played above their heads was just the idea that for DeAndre Ayton, the shots that he was making, those are very DeAndre Ayton shots.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I agree with.
And Rui, for example, 10 of 15 for this game, that's obviously a super high percentage, except Rui in 8 games has not shot below 50% from the field.
Right.
This season.
And where did he live in this? Not to cut you off, but where did he live in this game? 15 shots, only 4 from 3-point range.
Right.
Lived entirely in the mid-range.
Yeah. And it's interesting too with Rui and DeAndre, you've got 2 guys. We've talked about this a little bit before, more through the prism of DeAndre, but I think it applies a lot to Rui as well. You've got 2 guys who live in the mid-range, like this space that in the modern NBA, defenses are just hardwired to ignore you. And they're hardwired to a lot of times give you those shots because those are quote unquote bad shots. And I think a lot of times we saw this with the Suns team that DeAndre Ayton was with that got to the finals, that lost to the Bucks. They had a bunch of guys between Devin Booker and Chris Paul and even like Cam Payne, like all these different guys who were really good in that area. And I think it becomes very counterintuitive for teams to defend them because you're so used to conceding that. This is where Rui and Ayton and, when they're back, Luka, and Austin and LeBron can all be very good. But those two guys in particular, I think, can provide a lot of really good, consistent support because they're often operating in areas where defenses just aren't used to really loading up.
It's, finding those spots. If there's a reason DeMar DeRozan is still such an effective offensive player, and it's in part because like he lives in this space, like he has perfected this area, this part of the game.
Shea lives there.
Yes. Let's stick on this for a second because there's another. There's so many things about this game that I think are just fantastic. But let's keep talking about how these guys scored, what they did, and then who else contributed, because there were a lot of really important contributions, including, I think, a career best game from somebody who set foot on the floor. We'll get to it next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Game Time and basketball season. It is officially here. Oh, hell yeah, it is. Nothing beats being in the arena for these opening games, but getting tickets can be a headache between waiting in queues, surprise fees, prices that jump right before the checkout, and then all of a sudden they got you. Like it's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team that I'm assuming with this audience, the Lakers, giving you a lot to cheer about lately. And this is where Game Time comes. Yeah. That's where it could be bitter Blazers fans. This is the app Game Time that gives fans the advantage. It's the ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. What you see is what you pay. I love that. There's no hidden fees at the checkout. The zone deals allow you to pick the section. Game Time picks the seats, and then you save even bigger. And you can even find NBA tickets for under $25. That's like finding a Yeti walking down your street. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go.
So one of the things that I think is just really cool about the way this game kind of progressed is you could kind of see everybody excel in their role. It's like, what is the thing that you can bring to this game to help the Lakers win? Rui Hachimura, we need you to go score. Go score. DeAndre Ayton, go be a number one. Like, you've been this player before. He is probably, from a pedigree standpoint, the next in line. Like when we talked about this, Andy, when they signed Ayton, we're like, most of the time he's going to need to be the third best player, the fourth best player, the fifth best player, but they're going to be 5 nights a year where they need him to be the first or the second. This was one of them, and he totally came through.
29 and 10, 3 blocks. He also played the last, I would say, 7-ish minutes with 5 fouls. Once he checked back into the game, he had to walk that fine line of not picking up that 6th foul, especially because Jackson Hayes twisted his ankle in this game. Hopefully fine moving forward. But at that point, the center depth is DeAndre Ayton and DeAndre Ayton. So he had to walk that fine line between not picking up that 6th foul, but also making himself a deterrent defensively when he needed to be. And he managed to do that. 10 rebounds. Ayton has been, it was funny. You and I were texting during the game, and you had said that you were a little surprised that Ayton played, just given everybody that was already out. They might have given him an extra night.
Right. And just my reading of the tea leaves was just that he wasn't going to be healthy enough after missing a couple games.
And I responded with you, #revenge game. And I know that a lot of people would wonder, why would DeAndre Ayton have a feeling of revenge towards the Trailblazers, which gave him a lot of money, let him keep a lot of money to go sign with a better situation. And there was a lot of whisper. It wasn't quite at the level of Luka on the way out of Dallas, but there was certainly some whispers about DeAndre Ayton on the way out that felt very coordinated by the Blazers. And B, these guys come up with motivating reasons all the time, but that
And if they'd done a thank you DeAndre video at the arena, he still would have been revenge game.
No word on whether, I don't know whether or not there was one.
There was not. And I don't know that for sure. I'm just going to say there was not.
I'm guessing there was not.
There was not a thank you DeAndre.
All that's going to happen is it gets booed, and you don't want to do. But like, I had a feeling. I remember when we went through the schedule when it was released, I had actually marked this game as one that I was curious to see how would Deandre Ayton perform, like in this game for the first time and Phoenix for the first time as a Laker, like on a serious big boy team. And this was a hell of a night for Ayton when his team really needed it.
And so, you look at that and, you're impressed with like, okay, go do the thing that you, that you're not going to be asked to do all the time, but like, hey, this is the night we need it. Rui, go be a scorer. We need you to be a scorer. Go lift us. You're like, pure offensive player, probably the best player the Lakers had available as a pure offensive talent. Go be that guy. You got all the space you need to do what you want to do on the floor. Go do it. And he comes out with 10 and 15 from the floor, 6 of 6 from the line, 28 points. And then, you get to Nick Smith and it's like, look, they could end up in a situation like this again with Smith, where it's like, you know what, break glass in case of emergency, go out there and try to cook Nick Smith. And he goes 2 of 23 from the floor. Like that could be the next time they try. But on this night, Andy, they said, Nick Smith, go be an offensive player. Why did they sign him? Because he's really quick. He's a person who can create his own shot, which the Lakers do not have a lot of. And this was a night where, there's a little bit of a space for a guy to go create his own shot, try to get hot and take as many of them as you want. And what does Smith do? 10 of 15 from the floor, 5 of 6 from 3-point range, 6 assists, and 25 points. And as Marcus Smart said after the game, talking with Mike Trudell on the floor, like this guy has to come to the practice every day and work his ass off to stay in the league.
Yeah. I mean, I tweeted during this game at Cam Brothers, this is the type of game that can keep Nick Smith Jr. in the league. And I'm like, that may sound harsh, but I don't mean it that way at all. He is fighting to stay in the league. I know he was a former first-round pick. He's on a 2-way contract very early into his career. He is fighting to show that he belongs, that he's got the talent, that he can offset his size. I think, to be perfectly honest, that he can offset lack of discipline at times and, bad decisions, bad shot selection. And
which, by the way, some of which we saw in this game.
Look, if I'm being totally candid, I had not been particularly impressed with what we saw from Smith up to this point. Like there were flashes here and there, but during the preseason, I thought he looked During the games where he played this season, I thought he was largely again, few flashes here or there. This was a night, though, where he was truly needed. And even if he was playing badly, he might have been able to stay out there just because the options were so limited. But he played really well. I thought there was a great moment. JJ Redick with about, 4-ish minutes left in the game. Smith had put up a couple wild shots, and I had been kind of calling his own number, even by the standards of where JJ said go ISO. He was going a little too ISO. JJ took him out for about a minute, and then he put him back in, and I have no idea if anything was said to him or not. But then he came back into the game and was much more settled and focused.
Yep.
Hit back-to-back threes. Then he set up Deandre Ayton at the rim. This was, I don't even want to say like a game of a lifetime for Nick Smith Jr., but it may have been a lifeline game for him.
Pretty close. I mean, look, here's the thing about Smith is, he started, I don't remember exactly how many games he started. I could look it up here. But in Charlotte last year, he started 27 games. Played in 60, started 27. So it is sort of unusual to find a third-year player, former first-round pick, he's only 21 years old, who has started games at the NBA level. It's not like he, never had good games in Charlotte last year. I don't know exactly why they let him go. They've got too many sort of young guys and players, and it's a tire fire of an organization, and Lord, who knows? But you know, he's clearly got, some offensive chops. He's just really undersized, has struggles to defend. Like, if people think Bronny's undersized, they're basically the same height. Bronny outweighs him by 40 pounds, 35 pounds, depending on how, if you believe Nick Smith is really 185, and I don't, and then, Bronny is, I think, listed at 215. I think he might even be a little bigger than that at this point. Like, he's a sturdy young man. Like, Nick Smith is a flawed player, but like, these guys, it's just a reminder to me too, Andy, like, we spend a lot of time, this guy's, we try not to, but like, in basketball analysis, like, this guy sucks. Like, I don't understand, like, how good you have to be Nick Smith, struggling to stay in the league, for all this stuff. Like, these guys are all so flipping good. And it is really cool to see a player who's obviously still working at it, and has put his life into basketball, give himself a situation where he gets to keep playing. Like, he has this kind of game. It's just really cool to see. Like, if you just from a sports fan standpoint.
Yeah. When we get back, I want to offer, it may not be an exact comp, but like just an example that the Lakers have experienced several years ago, that can show how it takes like a couple years, different setting, better structure, but you can actually find them. And then we should talk about Bronny and a couple others.
That's who I was alluding to earlier.
Yeah, and a couple others. So we'll get into that coming up next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. As we have mentioned, as we are talking about now, the NBA, it's back. There's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And even if you missed the start of a game, or you want to ride the hot hand, perhaps the hot hand of Nick Smith Jr., FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head on over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Yeah, go, make your comparisons. As Sonny, I was laughing, by the way, at Lion King was referring to Nick Smith Jr. as Herky Jerky. Like, I think like Dave Herky Jerky, the guy who invented the expression, looks at Nick Smith and he's like, that's way beyond anything.
Wait, are you being serious?
No,
Dave Oh, okay.
There is no person named Dave Herky Jerky.
Okay. That sounded.
Did I really sell that?
Well, it's such a random thing to say that I assumed it was real because
no, it is not. I mean,
okay.
I don't know where the expression came from, but it's not from somebody named Dave Herky Jerky.
Yeah, well, you said it so specifically and so randomly, I figured it had to be real. But
nice.
Anyway,
but yeah, it's like I don't even think like Herky Jerky doesn't even begin to describe what Nick Smith looks like when he's playing. But that's why, Andy, when you watch him play, half the time he looks completely and totally out of control.
Thinking about Nick Smith and his situation, how he is very early in his career as a first-round pick, already in prove-it mode and like career preservation mode, but sometimes these guys just need a different place. It reminded they're not the exact same type of players, and they are certainly not the exact same type of builds, but it became, I think, easy to forget because he immediately found a role with the Lakers. But when the Lakers traded for Adam Morrison and Shannon Brown, Shannon Brown was, by his admission, a throw-in in that deal to make the money work. And Shannon had already been on two teams in 2 seasons with the NBA. He'd been a first-round pick. He was a rookie on LeBron's Cavs team that he carried to the finals, that had no business being in the finals in 2007, except for the fact that LeBron was on it. But Shannon Brown was a rookie on that team. His career with Cleveland and then Chicago had been extremely up and down. He had spent a lot of time with the G League. By his own admission, he wasn't quite ready for the professionalism and some of the adversity to deal with it. He was almost out of the league when he ended up getting, I want to say it was like a non-guaranteed contract with Charlotte, and played well enough to make the team, but still wasn't like he wasn't on solid footing in his career, got traded to the Lakers, surprisingly ended up in the rotation quickly, and then from there managed to carve out another several years in the league. And Shannon's issue was he really didn't quite have a position. Like, he was too small to be a small forward, but didn't quite have the shooting to be a shooting guard. He didn't have the point guard skills to be a point guard. He just was this incredible athlete and a really hard worker who just landed in the right place. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Nick Smith, but this stuff does happen.
Well, I say that this is why I like the signing. He's 21. He's 21. He has a skill set the Lakers don't have, which is a guy who can create his own shot in the backcourt. Once you get past, your star guards, they don't have that. Like, that's not something that's on the roster. And so it's like, go throw a dart at that and see if it works. And by the way, it's kind of already paid off. Like, if this is the only thing that Nick Smith does as a two-way player this year for the Lakers, that is a win of a two-way signing. He just helped them win a game that they had no business winning on the road. And they're 6-2 now, having played half their games without Luka and all of their games without LeBron. Like, if you told anyone that they would be 6-2, given that circumstance, they wouldn't believe it. So Nick Smith Jr. is already proven to be a worthy two-way signing. But it's like, I do agree with you. That point about context makes a huge difference. Like, I don't know, like you say, I don't know if Nick Smith is going to become a good rotation level NBA player in LA. I can guarantee you he wasn't going to be able to do it in Charlotte.
Well, also too, it is a reminder after Shannon, after Malik Monk, after the way Dalton Connect is seemingly struggled to get his mojo back after spending an hour in that building.
He was in the airport. Like, all it took.
Everybody needs to be freed from the Hornets in order to truly find whatever their potential may be. Like, other than Doug Branson, who's fantastic, and Walker Mel, if he's still doing the show, like, and Locked On Hornets, those guys are great. But
I'm convinced, Andy, that the minute he left Charlotte, LaMelo Ball would develop AC Green levels of durability and Chris Paul levels of discipline.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
He would transform into another human being.
He'd be more like Lonzo.
Let's talk. Lonzo is always responsible. Lonzo is always the more responsible brother.
Very much so.
Let's talk about Bronny, because I kind of had talked about earlier in the show, like, everybody go do the thing that you can do to be a contributor to this win. And for Bronny James, what does that mean? That means go play really good defense, active, aggressive defense, and pass the ball. And this was, to me, I realized he was at like the 17-point game at the end of the season last year. I actually think on the whole played pretty well Sunday night against Miami. This was, I think, his best game at the NBA level. And I don't even think it's really all that close when you consider, again, playing real minutes against a real team, playing their real players, and he looked like a rotation level player at the NBA level.
The thing that jumped out at me was the 6 assists and 0 turnovers, because it exemplifies to me the control that Bronny was showing in this game. Like, this was the first game I've seen Bronny at the very least play this year, and definitely the only one that had any real stakes since Bronny's been in the NBA, where Bronny looked completely unafraid. Like, he looked just completely not nervous. He looked completely sure of himself. He was not tentative.
Nope.
It doesn't mean that he did everything perfectly. But we talked about it that, Bronny, he didn't technically close the win against Miami, but he played a lot of crunch time.
Yeah.
And I said this in our post game from the Miami win. Like, it was great that Bronny put himself in the position to do that. Like, it was legitimately awesome. But there were a few possessions, like 2 of them back to back, where Bronny clearly was looking to do anything other than shoot or put the ball up. And it threw the offense out of whack. And he wasn't even looking to be a strong enough playmaker in that moment. He just looked like somebody who did not want the ball and kind of just wanted to be out of the way. And it messed up the offense on those possessions. Tonight was not that case with Bronny. Like, Bronny looked very decisive in everything he was doing. I agree with you. This is the best game that he's played as a pro.
And, if you can detach, he had a couple moments in Sunday's game where, he drove to draw players. I retweeted one of them today. I forgot who posted it, but I retweeted it. Like, that was an example of Bronny, like, driving aggressively to create something, to make something happen. Kick the ball to Smart hits the 3-pointer. But he did that like 5 times in this game. Like, he consistently drove to move players on the Blazers around and made really good passes. My favorite was the one where he's driving baseline and he finds cutting LaRavia, because it's both Bronny going to make something happen and also LaRavia moving and giving him that outlet. If you can separate the Bronny part of it, and which is really hard for people, I know, but if you can separate the Bronny part and just think of it as the 55th pick in the draft last year, who was not ready at the NBA level. When they drafted him, they knew it was a project, not ready. And you could see it in his NBA minutes last year. He was wildly overmatched. Your 55th pick at 21 years old, in 1 year, almost exactly 1 year, has gone from unplayable to consecutive games where you took him and, the 14th, 15th guy in your roster, and you played him for almost 40 minutes, and you were even on the floor, and he was making positive contributions. Like, if you just think of it that way, you have to be really happy with what's going on here with his development. The question isn't, is he going to be a star? The answer is no. The question should be, can he become a useful NBA caliber rotation player? And the evidence increasingly, I sound like a magic 8-ball. The evidence increasingly points to yes.
I don't know if I'd say increasingly, but I would say incrementally. And I think,
way, but I mean, increasing in increments.
Well, I guess increasingly to me sounds like it's almost steamrolling. Where I think with Bronny,
that's not what I meant, but I understand what you mean.
But also to the reason I say this is not to in any way try to detract from what Bronny was doing. I don't want to create expectations for him that are unfair, because Lord knows he's already dealt with enough of that. I would rather keep it grounded, but the incremental stuff that he's doing, and again, just seeing him tonight just look decisive and, unafraid to make mistakes, unafraid to whatever, it was great to see, because, I've talked about this a lot. By all appearances and everything I've ever heard about him, every interaction I've ever had, he's a good, hardworking young man who just wants to prove himself on his own merits, whatever that is. And it's nice to see the work showing signs of paying off.
Yeah, for sure. But, this stretch of time where all these guys have missed games, the upside to it, maybe this is something we can talk about in depth tomorrow, because they're between games. We have a little more time to talk about non-game day stuff.
Go on a limb and say there's no practice.
Probably not
on Tuesday.
I'm tired. I'm not practicing. But just what are we learning from this stretch? Like, what is the value, especially since they're winning these games? It's not even a moral victory type stuff. The Lakers, I think, are gaining a lot of really important things deeper into the roster. in ways that I think will pay dividends over the course of the season. So that is something to look forward to. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 37,000 subscribers to the show. Thank you to all of you who are joining a very crackling conversation and chat board on the live show, which we do after every Lakers game, home or road, weekend or weeknight. So we appreciate everybody stopping in. We'll see you tomorrow.